All right, everybody, it's 3:30. Welcome. My name is Chris Justice. I'm a coordinator with the Digital Learning and Instructional Technology Department here at Clark County School District. And I'm excited to present to you guys on Google Classroom and AI Made Easy. Today is May 12th, 2026. And please note that I am recording this session. I will make this recording available to us tomorrow morning via YouTube. I'll send you an email. I'm also using AI to take notes right now, and I'll take those notes and kind of transform them into a nice quick reference guide that you can use to help support the content and stuff that we go over here today. So trying to think of ways to use AI here in my own job. I'm sure you guys are doing the same thing on your end too. All right, so let's get into this here. Actually, let's start with our learning intention and success criterion. Let me change that. So what are we doing here? We're learning how to integrate AI tools within Google Classroom to streamline lesson planning and create interactive, accessible digital handouts. And then I can utilize AI integrated workflows and accessibility features within Google Classroom to design, format, and distribute instructional materials that enhance student engagement and classroom management. So those are our goals here today. Hopefully we will reach them by the end of 59 minutes. Take a look at our agenda here. Pretty ambitious. We're going to do some stuff here. Today is kind of like a workshop in that I'm hoping that you guys have a workstation computer in front of you, a laptop, some way to get into Google Classroom so that we can actually make some stuff. Today is about using Google Classroom and AI to make things. So what are we going to do? First, we'll set up a Sandbox as a Google Classroom. We'll go over the ins and outs, the different features and areas of our Google Classroom too. Remind ourselves what it looks and feels like if we're used to using this prior to the pandemic. Of course, if you're brand new to this, it'll be all new. And then we're going to create a mini unit. So what I want you to do right now is start to think about a topic, a standard that you're going to teach here, maybe something that you'll be doing in August in the first weeks of school with your students. Maybe it's something that you want to create now for the last couple of weeks of school, I suppose. Just note that while we as teachers have access to Google Classroom, we can get into it and use it, play around with it. We can't add our students to it just yet, right? That functionality doesn't exist for this school year. So while we can use it as teachers, our students can't physically log in and use any of those materials. So just know that if we do create something that we want to use next week, we won't be able to house it within Classroom. All right, but like I said, choose a topic, standard. The AI system, Gemini, is what we're using here in the school district, knows our Tier 1 instruction materials, very likely. And so the more you're specific as you start to prompt and ask AI to make you something, the more specific you are with the unit or the specific name of those Tier 1 instructional materials, the more likely that you'll get some good output out of it. All right, we're going to create a mini unit based on some topic or standard that you'd like to teach. We're going to use some AI tools to craft a compelling hook for that topic or standard. We'll create a visual along with some alternative text for the image. We'll create and assign a Google Doc handout. We'll write some informational text based off of that standard or topic. We'll format the doc, kind of turn it into something that can exist in our digital classroom. And then we'll assign the handout in Classroom. So I'll show you some of the cool things that we can do within it. We'll create and assign a quiz too. And then we're also going to see how quick and easy it is to create a gem for our classroom and get that gem out to students. We'll talk about some of these things along the way. Hopefully you're here for it. Okay, so let's, first things first here, let's set up our Google Classroom. It's going to be a sandbox. So let's get into classroom.google.com. Let me put this link into the chat here of our meet. If you're just getting into Chrome, and you're wondering, how can I find Classroom? Take a look. That little waffle, that 3x3 grid, usually in the upper right-hand corner. We can click on that, And classroom is going to look like that, the teacher there, the figure of the teacher in front of a green chalkboard. You wanted to move these favorites around, by the way. I'll give you a little tip here. Click on this little pencil, and then you can start to move some of these apps around. Maybe you want to have Gemini and Notebook LM real close to Classroom as well. But anyway, so let's get, or you can just click on the link in the chat. So let's get into Classroom. Yes. This is kind of like the dashboard view, if you're familiar with Canvas, right? When we first log into Canvas, we've got tiles of all of our classes there ready to go. There's kind of a similar setup here within Classroom as well. On the left-hand side is our menu. You might need to expand that menu by clicking on that those three lines in the upper left. Note in that menu here, we have access to all of our different classes. Right here you're noticing, and of course also in the tiles here within the dashboard. If you're looking at this menu on the left-hand side, notice that fourth link down from the top. It says Gemini. This is actually the Gemini system that we'll be using here. So it's not integrated into Classroom, but it's available from this view here. So we'll take a look at that in a minute. All right, you might start to think, oh my gosh, there's so many classes, right? Can I manage these different classes? First of all, let me tell you this. We're going to create a sandbox by clicking on this plus sign in the upper right-hand corner. If you're looking at my screen right now, we'll create a class. I just want to tell you this, though. Like, your classes next school year will automatically be created via a link between Classroom and Infinite Campus. So while we're going to create a class by clicking on that create class link in a moment, you won't have to do this next year. That's kind of a cool thing, right? So when I'm talking about all of these tiles here, they'll automatically be put in there because of that communication that happens with Infinite Campus. Likewise, you won't have to, back in the day before, if you're familiar with Classroom, before the pandemic time, we had to have the students join the class, click on the plus sign, click join class, enter the code. You don't have to do that either next school year, just as much as our classes will automatically be created via the link between Classroom and Infinite Campus. Your students will also be rostered that way, which is really awesome, right? So as the students enroll or exit your class sections, they'll automatically be updated in Classroom. You won't have to worry about any join codes or anything like that, which is cool. All right, before we actually click on that create class up there, let's just take a look here. So we can get rid of some of this stuff. Like, I'm doing this class a bunch of times over the summer. I'm going to create a bunch of new sandboxes, and I don't want to have all of this stuff on my dashboard over time. So I can click on the three dots, that vertical ellipsis. It says more options if you're looking at my screen. And I can archive these different classes. Let's archive this one now. All right. I can like do a bulk archive if I wanted to. I just want to do that one for right now, though. So let's see what happens. Click next, and it'll say, hey, are you sure? Yeah, and there it goes. If I wanted to get it back, by the way, in that menu view on the left, I go back over here at the very bottom. This is where I can access all of my archived classes, and then I can like further delete them, completely gone forever, or I can restore them, bring them back to life too. All right, while we're here, I might as well take a look. Look at the very bottom of my screen here, settings. Let's check this out. Your teacher, I should say your parents, can have access to this, which is kind of cool. We've got notifications, setups, all this good stuff. You might want to turn some of these off, right? As you start to get comments on your posts, it might become too much. Might also want to go over this with your students as well on day one. All right, and yeah, show your name on the homepage. Yeah, that looks fine. Okay, I'd say when we get into our sandbox, there's some more settings that we'll be able to access. So let's just wanted to check that one out. All right, let's go back to the dashboard homepage. In the upper right-hand corner, let's find that plus sign, and we're going to click Create Class. And you might say, oh, wow, link and import from the student information system, the SIS Infinite Campus. Oh, this is great. don't do it. Again, your students don't have access to this, and so even while we feel like we can import all of our sections right now from Infinite Campus, there's no point to do that because kids can't access it. All right, so I'm just going to click skip. And then for our class name, how do we type in the word Sandbox? And for me, I don't know what you're going to do, but I'll put May 12th, 2026, just to keep it all straight. So next time I can archive this one, I guess, right? We can skip all the rest of this stuff. It looks like the only required box is the name itself. So let's click create. I'm hoping that you guys are doing the same thing on your end. And we've created a class. Looks like it automatically opens it up. That's good. Okay, nice. Hey, so first things first, right? Look at the 5 top tabs at the top. Stream. This is kind of like a Facebook stream. Stuff is coming in as you post materials into your classroom. They'll show up here in chronological order without a lot of structure to it, right? Notice from this area, I can create an announcement. Kind of cool. We'll do that a little bit later. Like I said, this class code, you don't have to worry about it because the kids will be automatically rostered from Infinite Campus, which is cool. I like this, actually. I wouldn't mind using a Meet. You know, if you're working NVLA, that's one thing, I guess, right? You'd probably be using Meets all the time. But like I used to use this with my students in the classroom. Like if we did some draw notes, they all had Chromebooks. I would be up at the front desk. I'd have my document camera, and I would have them all join a Meet, right? Which is kind of fun because now I can do translation with the students. For the kids that might need that sort of thing, they can all see the screen in front of them as we go over the drive. It was kind of a fun. The kids loved it, I'm telling you. But so this is a way to get a link out to your students very quickly, right? That's specific for the your classroom. That's kind of neat. They'll be able to click their student view. They'll be able to click on that and join. If you wanted to do a live meet in classroom, they'll get a kick out of it, I promise. All right, what else? Some of the other things down here. So classwork. I'm looking at the tabs at the top. So your default view is stream. You can move over to classwork. This is where we can start to organize our materials here, right? So as that stream is just chronological, there's no order to it whatsoever. With classwork, this is where we can start to create, well, they're not called modules. Here in classroom world, it's called a topic. So if I click on create, get some of the things I can add. The very bottom is that topic. Again, I can add things into this topic. It kind of acts as a module, like what Canvas does. I can add gems and notebook LMs easily. We'll do that later on. Notice I can access posts stuff from maybe last school year if I was using this. I can click on reuse posts and I can pull up materials from other sections even, right? Which is kind of cool. Let's go back to click create. I can pose a question. I can add material. You know, in Canvas, we can add a page. Like a page has got content in it, sure. In this material here, it would exist as maybe like a slide deck, or maybe you have content that is housed within a Google Doc, that sort of, so we can add, or PDF, right? We can add stuff to that easily. We'll try this out. We'll make a quiz assignment, and then you can add assignments as well. Question, yes. All right. And we'll take a look at the assignment page in a little bit here. We're just doing a little bit of an overview of all the stuff. The people tab here, your students and the guardians, if they sign up for this, will show up in this area. Kind of nice and straightforward. Grades will be visible here. I actually don't really know what this looks like because I don't have students and I don't have Infinite Campus gradebook, but I'm sure it's going to look similar to what the Google LTI looks like in Canvas. But with all of your assignments in there, you can add points very quickly, access all of the student submissions as well. I like this too. The analytics here is pretty neat. It'll be tell you how each of your students is interacting with your different content and whether or not they are doing it. Do you remember when I mentioned there's settings here within the class itself? Look all the way to the right-hand side. Click on that cog. that gear. Click on class settings. All right. Yeah, this is where we can make sure that we have that link integration with Infinite Campus. This is what I want. Okay, yeah. Keep scrolling down. Some functionality here of what students can and cannot do. This is where I wanted to show you that. You'll want to do this, I think, in a very first day in August, is this grading periods, the grading scale. This is where you can add your different categories even. Take a look at the very bottom, grade categories. So here's what I do. In Infinite Campus in August, I would set up my formative and summatives, and then I would come into Classroom and then import those categories into my classroom so that they align properly. All right, you've got some opportunities here for different grading controls and all that good stuff. So definitely check out those settings. It's a little bit more robust settings within the actual classroom itself compared to like in the dashboard view, if that makes sense. All right, I've given you a lot of stuff so far. How many questions do we have out there? Anybody have any questions? Yes.
Hi, I have a question.
Sure.
So we're thinking of doing Google Classroom, but for adults.
Okay.
And then I was wondering, you were showing us how we can post things. I forgot what it was called. Is it called a topic or it's not necessarily an assignment, but basically if I wanted to share resources where they can just look at images, that's where it would go?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. If I clicked on material here, I can add, let's say maybe I have a JPEG, right? If that's what you're talking about, or some image file.
Yeah.
I can upload it from my computer. I can add it from my Google Drive. Maybe it's a series of things like a slide deck and a JPEG, right? So I can use a bunch of these different attachment features here. Yeah.
Okay, my question was, this is all really cool, and I remember really being excited about Google Classroom years ago before they outlawed it. But is this going to take the place of Canvas?
No, not well. Okay, so no, no school is going to have Canvas turned off. We've had a couple schools tell our department that they wanted to have Classroom turned off. But like we can't turn off Canvas at the school level. Now I'm being a little cagey here too, though, because there is a chance that your school site administrator might have an opinion as to which platform you'll use. We're not telling anybody to do anything, but your principal might say, hey, we're going to be a classroom school, and so you don't use Canvas anymore.
All right, so wait to hear from your site administrator.
Yeah, and those conversations may or may not be happening right now. Have a chat with them.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And give me a thumbs up if you guys are going to be a classroom-only school. Use little emojis. Let's see. Maybe we don't know yet. Anyone know if they're going to be both Canvas or class? That's what I would want, to be honest with you. But whenever I say that, everybody's like, oh my God, you can't have two. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. I'd be able to do it, I feel like. So one person said, hey, maybe both. All right. I saw somebody had their hand raised. Another comment before we move on. All right. All right, good. Yeah, anyone going to be Canvas only? Okay, Kim says, we're told that we're going to interface on Canvas, but be able to use Classroom. I like that. Again, very controversial. You tell an administrator, oh yeah, we're going to have two, and everybody's like, oh my God, think of the parents. The parents will not know how to do any of this stuff. To me, all of this is designed to be very intuitive, especially Classroom. I don't know. You just get in there and start using it. But that's my opinion. I understand other people might have other opinions. Okay, but yeah, that's looks like Seville Middle School is maybe going to be able to do both. That's what I want, because there's some cool stuff in Classroom, and let's get into it while we still have the time. Take a look. So we're going to create a little mini unit. Let's do this. From the classwork view, we'll click on that blue Create button, and let's create a new topic. So I just clicked on Create and then Topic. I want you to type in the topic, the concept, the standard that you're going to be teaching. I was an AP environmental science teacher at one point, and so I'm going to type in the Green Revolution, which is topic 5.3 within my curriculum. Choose anything you want. If you just want to play around with it, type in literally anything that you want, okay? And I'll click Add Topic. And I can start to add materials to that topic, right? And that's what I would do first, is when I start at a new unit, I'd create that topic first. And then we can start to add in the material or reuse some of those posts or start to add some of those assignments. All right, but we'll get to that in a minute. How about we do this? Let's get into the AI portion of today's session. So if you remember, there's that fourth link down from the top. It's labeled Gemini. Let's click on Gemini. I'll put the link into the chat too. There we go. And look at all of the different tools. I love these tools. It's so approachable with AI here because they're kind of like already set up for us. All of these links up here with the colors, like generate a quiz, we'll do that in a minute. Releveling text, creating rubrics, writing informational text, we'll do that here too in a second as well. All of these are very easy. They're already written prompts essentially. And all we have to do is just type in the grades that we teach and the topics that we want it on. So pretty neat stuff. You can get into, we'll try out a couple of these as well. In fact, we'll create an infographic in a second. This will actually, if I click on create an infographic, it will open up a little table where I can start to type in my materials there too. So we'll try that, try a bunch of these in a second. And of course, like today is only 60 minutes and gosh, we have 39 minutes left in today's session. So we're only going to be able to scratch the surface on some of these tools. Highly suggest you get in there and play around with it. I want you to find the link that says craft a compelling hook. It's like the yellow one. It looks like a light bulb. We'll click on that. Type in the grade that you're teaching. And we'll type in the that topic, that standard number, being very specific. If it's something to do with your Tier 1 instructional materials, be very specific. Envision math, right? And even the unit of the HMH materials, the AI likely knows. So take a moment, type in your topic. Notice that you have an optional way to engage with students. I like movement and activity. I'm going to make my 11th grade students get up out of their chairs and do stuff. Let's see what happens though. I'll give you 20 seconds here to do this, and then we'll click generate. We were in Gemini from Classroom. We clicked on craft a compelling hook, and we're just describing it here. Jenny already did it. I love it. Jenny clicked the button. Just wait. Yeah, wild stuff, right? I love that it doesn't just give us one idea. It gives us 6 different ideas here. Pretty wild stuff, right? Anyone else having issues with this part of it? I love this because, like, I was a science teacher. I'm looking at some of these materials here. This one says a couple buckets, a small cup, and some beans. Guaranteed I have those somewhere in my cabinets. I love this one, just says materials, none. That's the one I'm going to use. You know what I mean? Pretty wild stuff. And it looks like, yeah, it's actually kind of fun. Different ways to get going, right? To start off a lesson. Here's what I want you to do. Let's notice how there's this little copy button here underneath one. I just want you to click on one. Click on the copy button, I should say. Find one that you feel like you'd like. If we had more time, we can spend an hour doing just this and finding the perfect one and then trying it out. Just click copy because we're just playing around. copy one of those ideas. Let's go back to our sandbox. Might say, hey, discard changes, that's fine, as long as we copied one of them. And then notice how we are always defaulted to the stream. Remember that new announcement? Let's click on new announcement. And then let's just paste that in. Just practicing and making an announcement to our students, right? This one we can probably format it a little bit here, but it looks like that's all I want my students to. As they come in, we're going to be confronted with their announcement for today, which is going to be this activity. Here's what I wanted to point out, though. Take a look. There's some more controls over this. Look at my screen right now in the Meet. I can add this. So this is really important. Like Canvas doesn't, let me say it again. With Canvas, some of you might know that we can cross-list our different sections, and we can run our 5 sections out of just one section. There's no cross-listing in Classroom, which is unfortunate. But there is a way to get this announcement out to all of your different sections at the same time. So when I click on this little area here, notice that I can add this announcement to all of my different sections at the same time, which is kind of cool. Here's the thing. If you forget to do this, you'll have to go to each one of those sections and then put the individual announcements into those sections. So always make sure that if you're going to have multiple sections get the same materials, make sure you always click on this. Otherwise, you'll have to increase the amount of work that you're doing. If I click post, we're good to go. Notice I can also add stuff from my drive. Maybe I wanted to add, a handout or something like that. Gosh, Google has really made it so easy. My goodness. I can find some YouTube videos. Okay. If I click post, we're good to go. Look at this, though. Some of us teach secondary classes. We might have A days and B days. So I can actually schedule these out, too, which is kind of neat. So let's say I wanted to have this announcement show up for my A sections. It'll be, let's click on schedule, right? So I clicked on this little arrow drop down. I can click schedule. And now I can have a little bit more control over the different sections. Look at that. So now I can say, okay, this one's at 8 a.m., but this section here meets on the 14th at 8 a.m. That's fine. So I can post it at different times. Kind of cool, right? A little bit more control over what how I'm getting these things out. You can do the same thing, by the way, with announcements as well. So not just, assignments. So it's not just announcements, it's also assignments. Let's click schedule. And I think I just did it. There we go. Boom. All right. It'll show up here. So, it shows up as a draft, I guess, because for me, it's not going to be sent out till tomorrow, but it'll show up in that stream. Pretty cool. So we crafted a compelling hook. We made an announcement. Let's get back into AI. Now we're going to create a visual. Let's do this. Any questions? See, Jenny said, be right. Now, that's a lot of letters. I like that, but I know exactly what that means. Railroad, be right back. Now, anybody else kind of wild stuff? All right. Yes, please, Karen.
I've used Google Classroom in the past, and we were able to, I guess we cross curriculum somehow, or cross sections. Was it just that we had the kids sign up to the same section in the past, and because it's synced a little bit closer, and this of course was before all the chaos with just a lot more hacking. It was before 2020.
Yeah.
So they're not allowing the cross sections. Okay.
I suppose you can manually add students to different sections. I would not do that, though. I would let let Infinite Campus control all of that automatic enrollment.
Because it'll sync. Will it sync? Will the grades sync to Infinite Campus now?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good. All right, that's new.
Have assignments that show up here in Classroom. you'll be able to send those assignments over to Infinite Campus as well, separately to each of the students that are enrolled in your classes. But yeah, that whole cross-listing thing, that doesn't exist here, but I showed you. We'll look at this again when we do an assignment, how you can very quickly add one assignment to different sections quickly, which kind of functions as, you know, cross-listing in a way, but it's not the traditional sense in how we know it in Canvas.
Is the district recommending, because I know you asked everybody what they were doing, I don't know what we were doing, but is the district recommending one to go one way or the other at all?
I know what I would do. Yeah, I think these are conversations that are happening at each of the schools. And so, yeah, the district is not saying you must do this, you must do that. Nope.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. Let's click on Gemini on the left. That fourth link down from the top. And I want you to find, so we already used craft a compelling hook. Let's look at the section here, this kind of gray section here. It says visualize a concept, draw a comic, create an image to spark discussion. I want you to choose one of these that will create an image. For me, I'm going to create an infographic. Maybe an infographic isn't appropriate for what you're teaching. Choose one of these and just play around with it for a little bit, yeah? We'll click here and yeah, type in. So I just clicked again, create an infographic. Let's take about a minute. We're gonna go through, type in that topic, that standard, our grade levels, and then see what we get. All right, I'm sure you're looking at your own screen right now. It took about a moment, 30 seconds or so. My visual graphic has been created. We're going to get back to that, I suppose, in a moment. What I'd like you to do, so if this worked and you're good to go, let's add on to this. Notice it brought me into Gemini now. So I'm kind of away from Classroom, right? We're making some materials that will eventually go into Classroom. We're going to use this image. But underneath it, let's just write alt text. Let's write an additional quick prompt here. Just typed in write alt text. We'll use that alt text when we make a handout in a second, okay? But notice that I can now have that conversation with AI, which is cool. It made me that infographic thanks to the very nice prompt that it was automatically written in in Classroom. And I can add on to that conversation. Hey, give me some more, right? Give me some alt text, which is what I just did. So we'll get back to that. If I'm confusing you or I'm going too fast, skip the alt text part. But pretty cool, right? Let's look at my picture here. Maybe you guys have some cool pictures too. Yeah. Got to vet these materials here. That's what we do in the modern age. I'm looking here. It looks like what I would be teaching in my class. Did you guys get some good ones out there? Give me a thumbs up. Yes. A couple of you guys, yeah. Not bad. Let's make a handout. Yeah, not bad. It does pretty good. I mean, I remember doing this like a couple months ago even, and it was not as good. All right. It would misspell words and everything, and it looks pretty on point. Okay, so let's go back to Classroom. If you're not there, find your tab that says Classroom at the top. Click on Gemini. We're still within our the AI portion. what we're going to do is create a Google Doc. And we're going to do that by writing, and by the way, that doc, like a worksheet, basically, right? That worksheet will be an assignment in Classroom. Yes, Marcia.
So I try to do it in Spanish and it says that it's blocked.
Says it's blocked.
Yeah. Like it just says blocked. I don't know.
Whenever something doesn't work with AI, right? Like I don't have control over or over what you're seeing or anything. Like have a conversation with it, right? So instead of saying write alt text, say, hey, I asked this in Spanish. Can you help me out? Like what? Can you rewrite it? What's the roadblock here? Why is it that you can't do it? Have that conversation with AI and see if you can try to get that final output. And if it doesn't,
thank you.
yeah, sorry about that. I can't, it doesn't, so I do these sessions all the time now, and like sometimes I just get to a roadblock, like trying to pretend it's all great, and sometimes it doesn't work. And I don't know what the issue is with that one specific, but yeah, do that conversation is the best way to treat AI. All right, so let's go back to Gemini here within Classroom. I want you to find where it says write an informational text. We'll click on that. Just like last time, we're going to type in grade level, type in your topic, being specific about your Tier 1 instructional materials if you want. Keep going through the prompts, clicking the buttons, click generate. Give you guys about 30 seconds.
So did you put what they gave you in alt text as the topic? Is that what you did?
We're gonna use that in a moment here. We're gonna make a Google Doc out of this informational text, and then I'm just gonna copy and paste this in, and I'll show you where you can put the alt text.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get back to that infographic here. I just, mostly wanted you guys to play around with some of these AI tools here. So if you're not making a doc, if you don't want to make a worksheet, that's fine too. We're just exploring. All right, I love this here. So I'm hoping that you guys are at this point where I'm at right now, where we've created some informational text. If not, how did I get here? I got here by clicking on Gemini in Classroom, clicking on create informational text, and then I typed in my grade level, and I was specific about what I wanted it to be, and it looks pretty good to me. Of course, it looks good. What am I saying? I just looking at it. I have to read it. At the very top notice, it says check the accuracy of this long form content. Good tip here. You're seeing me do this live with 22 minutes left in our session. So I'm going to do this kind of quick, right? Which isn't the best way to work with AI, but we've got a time crunch. Actually, so notice here, I can add some of this stuff to my class. So somebody was asking about adding material earlier. If I wanted to, I can click on add to class, choose the class, choose the material or an assignment, and I can do it very quickly, just like that. Actually, I want to make a worksheet first, a good old-fashioned handout here. So let's export this to docs instead. All right, let's take about a minute or so, and we're just going to clean this up. If you want to just keep it as is, make it the way that you make your worksheets, that's fine. You just want to watch my screen, give you a couple tips about what I do. I like to get away from this 8.5 by 11-inch world that we live within. And if you're looking at my screen, this looks like something I'd print. I don't have to print anything anymore, right? Not with Classroom at least. And so I'm going to go up to here to File. I'll go to Page Setup. And then I'll click on Pageless. So right now the default is Pages. I like Pageless because it takes away the notion of paper, and it just puts everything on one kind of like unlimited, endless screen, which is good, right? All right, this is going to be stuff that I have my students read. These points for reflection, I'm just going to call this analysis questions. I can add on there if I wanted to. I can have more of a conversation with my AI and have it flesh them out. Let's change this to a different heading. You get me. We're just right now, you can be doing what I'm doing or not. Know that I'm recording this. So you'll see that if I'm going too fast, you can check this out again later on tomorrow if you want. Adding a little space in between after each of those list items. You know what I do with these online handouts is instead of adding a bunch of space, okay, type right here, you know, I tell my students on first day one, I put a little hashtag right here if you're looking at that screen. Let me make this bigger. I put a hashtag at the end of a question, anywhere where I want students to do something. And I'll change the highlight color to yellow or some bright color. And so now the kids know, and I tell them on day one, you guys, when you get into these online handouts, I want you to find the hashtag with the yellow. And that's where you type. Don't change the font, don't change the color, but this is where your answer goes. And then when I start to grade these, I can very quickly find their words, which is cool. That looks like a handout to me. Let me show you one of the reasons why we should stop printing things. Like, yeah, your kids can cheat on this all day long, right? Just like they can do it with paper. But there's a little bit more control over these digital handouts than the paper ones. Look at my screen in the upper right-hand corner. See this? This version history up here. This little clock with the arrow that's pointing backwards. Click on that. This tells me all of the edits that have gone through in this doc. And if you notice, I just copied and pasted a bunch of stuff in here. So I don't have a lot of edits in my version history. If I was doing my work and I was typing in each of the words, you would start to see a lot more entries within this version history here, suggesting that I'm doing my own work, I'm typing in my own thoughts instead of just copying and pasting from an AI system from the student's perspective, right? This is always fun to do when you do like a parent-teacher conference and you're like, let's look at some of your work. And then you pull up the version history and you're like, oh, where did this paragraph come from? You already know the answers, but it's fun to do in front of the parents, especially, right? Anyway, but so start using this version history. You don't have that same functionality if you print out the papers, right? I mean, just I can still copy the well, and they're going to cheat all they want. And so this is a way that we can like, yeah, they're going to cheat, but at least you'd know whether or not they do it. And when we start to assign these different texts within Classroom, we are the editors for it, right? Like we own as the teachers, we own these docs that the students are typing within. So we'll always have access to that version history. Without that, you have to go, hey, I need you to make me an editor. Add me on, please. I want to be able to see it. No, you own it, which is great. In fact, when the kid turns it in, it takes away, the system takes away their ownership of the doc. And so they can't continue to type in it, which is kind of cool, right? So it's almost like they're turning in actual physical paper. Their editing rights cease after they turn in the word. Oh yeah, I forgot. Take a look. Let's add that infographic. Yes, I've got a couple tabs here. If you want to skip this part, that's fine. Take a look. Mouse over. Look at that. Mouse over this image. Got that same copy symbol here. See that? I can download it, sure, and then upload it. I'm just going to copy it though. Watch. Copy. Come over here to my text. Make some space. And then we'll paste it. Yeah. And then we'll watch the magic. Copy. There we go. Jesus. All right, fun stuff. Paste. Take a look what I can do. Let's select, remember the alt text. Again, if I'm going too much or this is too much, skip it. All right. Sometimes I have the tendency to do too much. But for those of you who are ready for it, take a look. I'm going to select on this image I'll click on image options. And this is where I can add alt text. Right? Take a look. Let's come back over here to the alt text that was created. Let's copy that, sure. And then we'll paste in that alt text into this section. Now, if a student is using a screen reader, right, rather than have this be a completely unusable image, now the screen reader has some additional context to give to the students for those kids that would otherwise never be able to access this. Think about if you're printing up a handout like this, first of all, you're not going to get it in color. Second of all, you're not going to have that additional context for those kids that where it would be inaccessible if it wasn't digital to begin with. Anyway, so that's my handout. Not bad. Oh, I gotta make this look prettier. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Not bad. Hey, let's assign it. Yes. All right. Let's come back over to our classroom. So let's open up that Sandbox. Let's click on classwork. Just going back into the Sandbox. Click on classwork. Remember when we created that topic? Well, let's click on create again. This time it'll be an assignment. So click create assignment. And then find that assignment within your drive. I want to like change the title of it a little bit. I forgot to do that. You might be thinking 14 minutes. Is he going to be able to pull off the rest of the stuff on the agenda? With the help of AI, potentially. All right. I'm just typing in the title. Let's click on Drive. And we're finding that handout. There it is. I can add a slide deck. I can add a YouTube video. Play around with some of these other things here too, like gem. We'll actually do this in a minute. Got gems there, pretty wild stuff. Okay, remember, there's no cross-listing. So if I wanted to make sure that I get this assignment into all of my other sections, I've got to make sure that I select those. Going to be so important. I know that this is going to, if I was doing this next year all day long, I'm going to forget to select on those different sections. So get into the habit now, right? Start from the top, work your way down, click the correct classes, add your due date, sure. Don't forget too that, gosh, you know, the topic is important. If I forget to put this assignment into the topic that I created, I'll have to go to each one of those individual sections and physically move it. I don't want to have to do that. That's extra work. So add it to that very specific topic, please. All right, and this area is where you'll have formative or summative. Make sure you got the right point systems, whatever you're using for your classroom, like check plagiarism. Remember, I can come up here, I can schedule this just like an announcement. So if I have students in a later period, I don't want them to access a form or something like that until the actual time, I can schedule this out. Or I can just click assign, and boom, I now have a gorgeous, good old-fashioned digital handout in the 21st century. Pretty wild stuff. Questions, issues? Yes, please.
So, would you click to make let each student make their own copy?
Oh my gosh, you're so good. Thank you. You're so right. Yep. I'm so sorry. I forgot that part. Karen, I appreciate you. Do you see what I did? I made a huge mistake, and Karen, I appreciate you helping me out with this. This is the thing I would always forget, guaranteed. Right now, I've said, you're so right. I've set this up so that students can only view that file. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, we're going to try this again. Oh my gosh, Karen, this is going to be the most important thing we do. Let's try this again. Part 2. Let's try this out. there should be an option here. Yeah, look at that. Oh my gosh. See what I'd have to do? So I'm going to make since I put this in 3 different sections, I'm going to have to go through each one of those sections and change it. I'm so happy that you brought this up, Karen, because it really allows me to now drive home that point. Take a look. We don't want students just to make or to view the file. Notice I do have another option. This is so important. Make a copy for each of the students. And if I click, by the way, assign and try to go back and edit it, I won't be able to do that. I have to make the assignment brand new. And you just saw me have to make it part 2, a version of this. So you're so right. Make a copy for each student. And then we come in and do that. I'm so happy that you helped me out. Thank you.
So you're welcome. But is this where, like, you said once they submit it, they no longer have editing rights to it?
When you've made have them make a copy of it, when the system makes a copy, yes, they no longer have editing rights to it, and so their name will show up. Since I'm making a copy for each kid, their name will show up in the beginning of this. So it'll say their name and then topic 5 point, whatever the name of this doc is. But had I not done that, they'd have to make their own copy of it, and that's just a mess. Thank you for that. My goodness. I'll make sure in that quick reference guide that I make for you guys, I'll make sure that I like bold that, because that's a mistake you saw me make in real time. And now I have to do it all over again, right? All right, and then delete each of the other ones. Oh my gosh, so that is an issue. All right, so but we got the point. Thanks for that, Karen. And now I've set up the assignment properly. All right, let's let it do its thing. And then as those students open up that assignment, the system will automatically create a new version for them. Now let's see which one it is. I love that. I have to go through and figure out which one the old one is. Okay, hey, we did it. Let's quickly, you might be wondering, 9 minutes, 2 things, AI, let's do it. We're going to create and assign a quiz quick. So come back over here to Gemini. Find where it says generate a quiz. For me, it's the purple. So I clicked on from classroom, that menu on the left. I clicked on Gemini. I'll click on generate a quiz. And then take a moment, fill in your grade level, how many questions you want, go through all the prompts, keep clicking buttons. Or you can just watch what I'm doing. Notice at this kind of in-between screen here, we have the option for different question types, like multiple choice and true false will be automatically graded. Those short answer and long answer ones, I'll have to manually grade. AI doesn't do that for us. Click generate questions if you're there for me. And you might be thinking, okay, well, this isn't great. Now I have to copy and paste this. I can just do this in Canvas. Take a look at the bottom. Export. Now we can add it to a class. Actually, let's just do, let's just see what happens. I think it'll make the form for us automatically. So notice that I can export this to forms, and then I can add that form to a class. Let's just see what happens if I add it to a class, just to kind of bypass that. Let's choose my Sandbox. This will be a quiz assignment. And let's click confirm. It still makes the form. So that's what's really cool. You don't have to copy and paste this stuff in there. It makes the form for us. Take a look. I can clickety-click. And there's my form. If I've got multiple choice true false questions, it's automatically graded. Wild stuff, right? Make a nice formative quiz on anything. I don't know if anybody out there tried to type in their specific like tier 1 instructional materials, but you might be able to make a quiz based off of that stuff. That's very specific things too. All right. And then let's go through the process here. Giving a title. You're looking at my screen. It says locked mode on Chromebooks. Heck yeah. I can add it to my different sections, just like the assignments. Make sure I add it to the topic I want. Remember, if this is a quiz, I don't want my kids in 4th period to access this, so I can schedule that out if I wanted to, which is kind of cool. Just a little bit extra work putting in the time and the date, right? All right. You get the point though, right? Let's click on assign, and now we've got a gorgeous form-based quiz. Check it out, yeah. Kate's having a good day out there. How's it going, Kate? All right, hopefully she doesn't say anything bad about it. Pins and needles. There we go. Like cute. Kate's probably like, what is going on? What is he referring to? Okay, so yeah, we just added it. Let's go back to our sandbox here. There we go. Not bad. And there it is. Beautiful quiz. Pretty cool stuff, right? All right, guys, we've got 4 more minutes, which is a perfect amount of time to do our last item on that agenda. I can't believe we've been able to get through so much. And there's still one more piece of the puzzle to go. It's so easy. Gems are amazing. I think gems are the whole key to teaching with AI when it's turned on for all students. A gem, I'll take a look. Let's click on create. So from classwork, I'm in my sandbox. I'll click on create. And then notice, remember that one of the options here was gem. Let's click on this. Look what it does. Now I can go in and make my own gems, or I can just use one of the prompts that are already made by the good folks at Google. Look at this. I love it. Quiz me. So I'm just going to create a new one directly from Classroom. My template was quiz me. So the format will be the kids go in there and they'll be given questions based off of, well, what? Look at this. I can add topics. So if you remember the quiz and that handout that I made, it will use that material in those handouts and that form quiz to create custom questions for the students and provide feedback on for them, right? So I'll click on create gem. Imagine a gem that is for each of your units, right? Kids can get in there before a unit exam, and they can come up with custom questions based off of your actual content that's already in your classroom. Pretty wild stuff. And look at this prompt. So the instructions here for this gem, pretty, I would never be able to write that. It's already pre-written for me, and I'm good to go. So yeah, let's type this in. We'll type in gem. I want to make sure that I add this to all of my different sandboxes here, or all of my sections, I should say. Add it to the correct topic, and we'll post it in there, and let's check it out. Yeah, we'll make viewers, that's fine. Let's try out this gem. All right, clickety click. Let's see what happens. You might want to tell the kids, like, they just see, like, how do I interact with it? You might want to just say, like, type the word go, see what happens. Or I need help, or, you know, whatever the initial prompt is. Then it asks, okay, what's your grade level and the topic that you'd like to be quizzed on? I suppose the topic's 5.3. It might not be 100% perfect, but that gem will now start to create some questions based off of that content. Pretty cool stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, we got through a lot of stuff here in today's session. I'm going to give you guys the recording here, so if I went too fast or you didn't get the part about the alt text or whatever, for whatever reason, right, I was going way too fast, zooming through the materials, I'll make that video available to you tomorrow. I'll also take our notes and the transcription that from today's meet, and I'll have AI turn it into a nice quick reference guide that will be specific to the 60-minute session that we went over here today. Pretty cool stuff, I think, right? I've made like 3 or 4 of these for the 3 or 4 sessions I've done so far. Each one is different, just like each one of these 60-minute sessions is different. And I'll make sure I highlight that issue to make a copy of the assignment for each of the students when you make an assignment. All right, there's so much more to Classroom. I feel like I've got to do a part 2. It's probably going to come in September. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Let's get you the feedback form. That link is now in the chat. You can finish that feedback form in offline if you want to. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thanks very much. See you, Dawn. Hey, have a good one. Bye, Alicia, Ivy, be well, Caitlin, Jenny, Kelly. Yeah, the attendance will be automatically created by this Meet, but please make sure that you give me some feedback on that form.
Thank you.